This is the second series from the night guards on the subway station. If you want to hear the first series, go to my last video, it's going to be in the description down below, or click the cards in this video. I got a job as a night security on a train. The train rules are deeply disturbing. Part 1. My last job was a bit dangerous and disturbing, but I got a rather hefty payment for just the first shift, and then a promotion to work as a security on a night train. My last job was working as a night guard for my local subway station. This morning I got a text from my employer. I only know them as the subway management team, asking me to come to my local station for my first shift on the train. I made my way to the subway station on time at 9 p.m. The train I would be riding on for the next 8 hours arrived at the station. It was a very modern train with automatic open doors and was 6 compartments long. My security compartment would be the second one from front, as I was told in my text. As I got on the train, I noticed that each compartment except for the special compartment had a main lobby type area, with 4 seats on either sides facing the windows, and a travel door that linked it to the next compartment on the left side from the entrance door. On the right were either a few steps leading up to an upper seating area that was similar to the interior of the bus, and a few steps leading down to an exactly identical sitting area. The security compartment was very different to the main ones. I had a camera feed and a desk with drawers. It also had a chair I could sit on. The security compartment required a key to open. The driver compartment could be accessed from the security compartment via a door. As I was about to get on the train, a guy exited the last security compartment and handed me a security baggage and the keys of the compartment. He patted me on the back and wished me good luck. I cringed as soon as he said good luck, as my mind filled up with the events of my last job. When I got into my security compartment, I found the usual employee manual, but also once again a sheet of rules. It read, "All passengers must be escorted off the train on station 6. The train will stop for 5 minutes on the station 6. Check all 4 carriages and make sure every passenger has left the train. After the train has left station 6, go back to the security compartment, which is at the front and will have a door labeled security compartment. You must do this as soon as the doors of the train start closing. Run if you have to. If you hear people talking, stay put inside your security compartment and check the camera feed. If you see people sitting in compartment 4, immediately disable the automatic doors that connect compartment 4 to 3. You must do this as soon as possible, before they notice. If they even glance at the camera, they have noticed. If the people you see in your camera feed start approaching compartment 3, get the knife from the drawer and go stab all of them before they reach compartment 3. You are to make rounds of the full train every 15 minutes from the point you see the people in compartment 4 to the point the train comes back to the station you got on at and has done a full loop. You are to make rounds of the full train every 15 minutes from the point you see the people in compartment 4 to the point the train comes back to the station you got on at and has done a full loop. If during your rounds you see anyone get on the train, hide. Don't hide in your security compartment, hide somewhere they won't find you. They will give up at the next stop and leave the train. If during your rounds you hear hysterical laughing, turn off all the lights to the compartment, but don't disable the train doors to the compartment. An extension to Rule 7. If you see the thing making the laughing sound, get out of that compartment and disable the doors to it. The creature might trick you by disappearing as soon as you see it, but make sure you disable the doors. You may find a young girl in a red dress in one of the compartments looking lost. Ignore her and do not look in her direction. She may plead for help or do anything to get your attention, but do not look her away or interact with her in any way. At stops 9 and 13, get off and on the train. At stop 13, you may see a man sitting in a security booth. Do not get off the train or he will shoot you. You may see someone else you didn't see before on the train get off and get shot by the security guard. Do not interfere. The train may break down at any point during the journey, and all electric power will go out. Keep calm and stay in position. You might feel things moving around you in the dark or even hear things. Ignore everything. The train will start up again and will eventually move on. Continue normally. Check the camera feed every 30 minutes after reaching stop 13. You may see various creatures or people sitting in the seats. You may see violence. Make sure you do not interfere in any way. At the same time, you may have to do a round of the train. Keep doing your round and still go through that compartment. The creatures can only be seen on the camera feed. If you notice that you are stopping at some stop over and over again, go to compartment 4 and sit on the very back seat. Wait until the stops continue and then you can leave the seat. On one of your rounds, you may find the train seats bloody. Use the cleaning cloths in the drawer and clean the seats. The lights on the train may go out at any time during your rounds. Use the flashlight we have provided and continue your rounds. If you see anything in the dark, run back to your security compartment and disable the doors to that compartment. You can enable the doors once the lights come back. If the train gets too quiet and you literally don't hear anything, run to your security compartment and put loud music on your phone to fill up the silence. Continue your shift and rounds once you hear the steady sound of the train engine. If the train stops for longer than 5 minutes at any stop, check on the driver. If he is not there, manually close the doors of the train and keep the train going until it loops back to your stop and get off there. You will also have to continue your security duties. If you walk into compartment 5 by accident, immediately get out before the automatic doors close behind you. If the doors close behind you and you are stuck in compartment 5, jump off the train. The reason this rule is so important is because there is no compartment 5. If you break any of the above underlined rules, we are not responsible for your general health and safety. We will nonetheless come to collect you at your entry station. The train has just started moving again. My current station is station 1. I'm going to read the rules and try to memorize them and also get familiar with the train before the rules are on me once again. Part 2. I went around the train and it was sparsely populated. It wasn't exactly packed, but it wasn't empty either. Everyone was tired from their work as they were returning home. I was just starting my shift. I went back to the security cabin and the door clicked shut behind me. Auto-locking door, that should be useful. I mocked as I sat down rereading the rules. The train ride was just dark tunnels. After a long and uneventful ride, the train finally reached station 6. I got out of my security cabin and ushered everyone off the train. I then did a round of all 4 cabins and had to wake up a few sleeping passengers and get them off. The train doors then started to close and it was just me and whatever else was on this train. I quickly set up my watch to alert me every 15 minutes to do my rounds. So far so good. Rule 1, thick. Just then I realized that I messed up rule 2. Chills went up my spine and my heart rate quickened up. I was at the end of compartment 1, so all I had to do was go through the sitting areas and then straight through the security compartment. I suddenly started running as soon as the plan formed in my head. I had broken the rule, but that doesn't mean I just stand there and wait for something to get me. Suddenly, I slammed into a wall. I was momentarily dazed as I really wasn't expecting a wall to be here. No, hold up, it wasn't a wall. I had just crashing into a horrifying creature. It was of a deep black color. No, not black. It was the color of nothingness, the total absence of light. It had bright red eye-like protrusions all over its body. In place of a face, it had tentacles plugging out of a deep hole in place of a mouth. Since it was hunched over, I felt its wet, slimy tentacles in my hair. This was the same creature from the subway station. This time, I wasn't in the safety of my boot though, and nothing is going to stop it from getting me. I was frozen in fear for a while until the creature let out a deep guttural growl. It kicked me out of my state, and I started running for my life. It reached out its claws and scratched me painfully on my chest. It made the sound of shock on a chalkboard, as the rough tips of its claws ripped through my shirt and shredded my skin. Warm blood leaked out of my chest. I continued running and clutched my chest. That was now searing with a sharp, ugly pain. I got into the security compartment just in time. The creature made a massive bang against the door. I quickly reached into the cabinet next to my desk and found a first aid kit. The creature continued repeatedly banging itself into the door. At some point it went away. After ripping open my shirt, I applied the unmarked lotion I found onto my shirt and wrapped bandages around my torso. The cuts weren't too deep, but they had mangled the upper layer of my skin and covered a great area. It stung like hell. I picked up my water bottle and shaking hands and took massive gulps. I had already broken the second rule on the list. Suddenly, I heard loud and joyful talking outside my security compartment. I knew there was a rule relating to that, so I pulled out the rule sheet from my pocket and scanned it. Yes, I have to disable the doors to compartment 4. I quickly looked at the camera feed and saw a group of people sitting at the back of compartment 4, in the upper story. I swear one of them glanced up at the camera as I disabled the doors. Their face sent chills down my spine, and it was not because of their expression. It was because he looked exactly like me. No, he was me. And then all 4 of them looked up. They were all copies of me. Their wide, creepy grins sent chills down my spine. They suddenly got up and walked towards the travel doors in unison. Luckily, I had disabled the doors as soon as I heard the voices. And guess what? Just then, my watch beeps to politely tell me that it was time to take a relaxing round of the train. I picked up the knife from the drawer and made sure I had disabled the doors to compartment 4. All the other compartments were empty, but when I reached the end of compartment 3, where the travel doors was to compartment 4, I saw a sight that snapped at my mind. It was a sight that keeps replaying in my mind until now. There they were, the 4 copies of me, pressed against the glass. They looked demented and drugged, drool dripping down their faces and their eyes went wide at the sign of me. Then, as if on cue, they all started fighting each other. They fought like wild dogs, beating each other, poking each other in the eye, blood dripping on the floor like from a tap, but they continued. They mutilated each other. I could not continue watching. They punched and kicked each other until their faces were unrecognizable. I turned around and ran straight to the security compartment. I started crying hysterically inside and pulled at locks of my hair. Why the hell did I come back to this job? What are those things? What is this train? I screamed at the walls, but they remained silent in response. I started punching the walls and didn't stop until I noticed blood on my fists. Then I wrapped my hands in bandages. I swear, I look like a zombie apocalypse video game character. I'm currently typing this up to calm down. So far, I have only broken 1 rule. I will have to go on another round soon. I'm going to keep updating if I'm alive. Pray for me. I want to get out of this hell. Part 3. As soon as I posted the last post, the train stopped at station 8. I realized that at the next stop I would have to get on and off the train. It was also time for another round, so I came out of my security compartment. I looked outside the train doors to check out the station. It was kind of the same as my local station, but had no guard booth. How lucky, no one has to work here. My thoughts were interrupted by a fast, dark figure that darted into the station. Wait, shit, there was a rule about that. Suddenly, I remembered the rule, and I quickly scrambled for the upper seating area of the first compartment. I had already found myself a very good hiding spot. I slipped under the seats and held my breath. I heard thundering footsteps walk towards me. I also heard heavy panting, the sound someone would make after having nearly drowned. I felt something wet near my feet and looked down. I just suppressed my scream as I saw the pool of blood spreading on the ground. It was a mesmerizing deep red color, consistent throughout. The blood was thick and it oozed slowly to spread across the floor. The footsteps then went away. The train doors closed and the train got moving again. I got up from under the seat and there was no pool of blood on the floor, like I was hallucinating. I composed myself and decided to continue my round. As I reached the end of compartment 3, I realized that the travel doors to compartment 4 were now unable again. I pulled out the sharp knife that the train guys had provided me and cautiously walked inside. The compartment was empty. Suddenly, my eyes caught on the bloodied seats. I quickly pulled out the microfiber cloths they had provided me and scrubbed the seats. The blood went away pretty easily. As I got out of the compartment 4, the automated PA system announced that it was station 9. Big deal. I continued making my way back and realized it too late. Shit. The train doors closed and I cringed at what was going to happen next. Then, as the lights in the compartments snapped out and all the travel doors locked themselves, I went to the entrance doors and tried to pull them open. They wouldn't budge. I heard low moans in the dark. There were many of them. They rose out from under the seats. Some held weapons and some were barely able to stand. Some were crawling. Then they started speaking. "We died here, you must too." I got desperate and grabbed the fire escape hammer. I smashed the glass of the travel doors. I hit and hit until there was enough of a gap for me to get through. Luckily, the train hadn't started moving yet, and so I ran out onto the platform and entered via compartment 3. While I was doing that, one of the zombies grabbed my ankle. Its grip was weak and I pushed it away. I will never forget that icy grip. The train was completely normal. I walked back into compartment 4 and there were no zombies. The only proof of what had just happened was the smashed travel doors. At this point, I was in shock and I couldn't really feel anything anymore. I went back to the security compartment. Suddenly, I realized that the train was still stopped at the platform. I went into the driver compartment and realized there was no driver. I got into the seat and got the train running again. The train was set to work automatically, so all I had to do was start it up. I rested in the security compartment for the next 15 minutes before my round. I scrolled through Reddit, not even reading anything. I couldn't comprehend the words on the screen. My phone was the only anchor to reality I had. Other than that, it was me, the train, and the set of rules. My time was up and I got up for another round. I really hoped nothing happened on this round. I couldn't deal with anything else. I walked out of the security compartment and walked into compartment 1. I heard a faint sobbing and immediately looked at my left. There was a girl in a distinct red dress. She had her face buried in her hands. I immediately looked away. The girl shouted after me, "Have you seen my mommy? Have you seen my daddy? Help me, I'm lost. Why don't you help me?" I practically sprinted as her voice turned demonic. And guess what happened? Guess my luck? The lights went out and the train came to a stop. I quickly shifted to the seats closer to me and sat down. I heard the girl's voice again. "I'm coming for you." Then she giggled. It sent chills up my spine. I then also heard soft moans in the dark and felt the same ice grip on my ankle. I shivered and started crying. "Just leave me alone," I stammered at no one in particular. I heard laughs and giggles all around. They were mocking me, laughing at my despair and misery. Anger surged through my veins. I punched aimlessly in the air, hitting nothing. Suddenly, I felt something next to me on the seat. Millions of bugs crawled up my legs. I screamed for help, but no one came. The lights came on all at once. There was nothing on me and no one around me. I quickly got up and went to finish my rounds. I passed through the compartment, checking each. Compartment 2, check. Compartment 3, check. Compartment 4, check. I realized it too late. The travel doors closed behind me. I pounded on the travel doors and swore loudly. I grabbed another fire hammer and smashed the glass window in the travel doors. I could only fit my hand through those. I hit the door more, but the door wouldn't budge. After several hits, the metal was barely dented. And then, I heard the noises behind me. I got a job as a night security on a night train. This job has changed me forever. Part 4. First off, I have noticed that you guys are interested in the history of the subway station. Some of you guys have also been speculating why such a job exists. Our local subway station was built in the 1950s. The train station has been the same ever since then, except for a few changes and renovations to adapt to the modern technology and trains. The subway station has been closed down many times over the years, till the 2000s due to unfortunate incidents. In the 2000s, a new company bought the subway station and promised to manage it properly. There is no information about the company on the web, and it is simply known as the subway management team. After the team took over, nothing has ever went wrong in the subway station. They are probably the ones that invented the rules and hired security guards. I personally think the reason that this job exists to prevent incidents like the ones that happened before, and to also prevent the creatures or whatever is on the subway station and train for entering our world. It is so they remain confined to only these locations and stay there, which would explain the rules of shooting people coming off the train and stabbing the people coming out of the compartment 4 if they came out. Other rules may be to simply protect the guard, such as getting on and off at station 9 and 13 and not going into compartment 5. Speaking of compartment 5, I barely made it out. I turned around and behind me were the same zombie-like beings. They had excited looks on their faces as they drew closer. They took their time, coming slowly as if to mock me. Suddenly, an idea formed in my head. They reached out like they were sleepwalking. I felt claustrophobic as they closed in on me. Their faces and bodies were rotten and grotesque. The smell made me gag. I pulled out my knife and started stabbing and slashing at them. They continued unfazed, hungry for my flesh. I pushed through the crowds to the entry and exit doors at the side of the compartment and hit it with the fire hammer. The glass immediately shattered. My arms and hands shook from the adrenaline. I hit the glass harder and harder. I broke away pretty quickly. Since these doors were mostly glass plastic, I could easily jump through this door without it having opened. The travel doors only had small windows. The zombies were fast to follow and they started running at me. I realized that the train had stopped at some stations and I didn't have to jump on the tracks and hurt myself. I leaped out through the gap and landed on the platform. A gunshot whizzed past my head. I realized very quickly that I had indeed jumped off the train at station 13. There was a guard right in front of me with a gun in hand. He was probably just following the rules, thinking I was also a monster. The zombies burst out from the train behind me. The security guard's eyes widened and he shot me. The gunshot nearly connected with my head. More creatures of all sorts came out of the train. They were all hideous and otherworldly. Some of them fought each other, some of them looked around, sniffing for blood. I had just unleashed the whole horde into the subway station. Many of them ran outside the station like crazy, ready to terrorize people on the streets. The security guard shot again. This time he didn't miss. It all happened in slow motion. The shot connected with my arm and blood splattered everywhere. I felt a weird burning sensation on my arm. I was surprised I didn't feel any pain. I watched in shock as blood soaked the whole sleeve of my shirt. Then the pain set in. It hurts like hell. My knees grew weak and I collapsed. As if that wasn't enough, the security guard shot another one. The bullet hit my hip bone. I heard a disgusting grinding and cracking sound. First, I just felt shock in my hip, and then the pain set in. It was agonizing. The only thing I could feel was pain. I collapsed fully on the ground and passed in and out of consciousness. And then finally, after an agonizingly long time, it all went black. I woke up in a hospital bed, hooked up to a bunch of machines and IV drip. My arm ached and my torso hurt when I tried to move it. The nurses saw that I had woken up and quickly came over. They explained my injuries to me in a blur and told me about the surgeries they had to perform on me. I had been shifting in and out of consciousness for 2 days. It would take me a long time to recover from the gunshots. After a while, serious-looking men in suits appeared. This was definitely some government thing. They offered to pay my medical fees and gave me lots of compensation if I kept my mouth shut. I didn't want to be taken away. They didn't explain anything to me and insisted that I forgot about it for my own good. My family was also compensated lots and told to not spread anything. Everything was covered up as some sort of accident. The subway station remains closed to this day. The subway management company disappeared and all records of it were gone. The train tracks have been completely closed off and no train would be able to run there. Our small town now usually sees lots of military helicopters in the sky and lots of police cars patrolling. I swear our town has been quarantined as there has been rumors of military trucks on the roads not letting anyone in or out. I have never been able to go into a subway station. Even images of trains send me into hysteria. I have to visit 2 different psychologists every week. Every night I wake up from nightmares that take me back to the subway station, back to the train. Sometimes I wonder, what happened to all the creatures that came off the train?